take a ride down memory lane. Okay. You shot some of the greatest hip-hop artists, some of the first hip-hop artists in the world for Word Up magazine. Now, how did you start? I heard, you were shooting graffiti first.
I started by shooting graffiti because I'm a painter by nature, and I loved seeing that graffiti because these are kids with no training but immense talent. I was wondering, how did kids learn so much and they don't have schools, they don't have anything? It's inherent, it's cultural, it's spiritual, it's racial. And what they did was they reached into themselves and into their memory, in their spiritual memory, and they were able to do things that defied logic. And everywhere I looked, I saw it. And these kids were being chased by the police, being bit by police dogs, being arrested, being beat up, having their paint thrown in the garbage. It was not an easy job being a graffiti artist. But they had heart, they had spirit, and they had energy, and I recognized that. And through them, I met all of the rappers.
There you go.
And because of my background, I felt that this was a revolutionary move. It could change us. Because the only time you saw cats look like me and you on TV was in handcuffs. And I didn't know nobody like that. Everybody I knew was a warrior or a goddess or, just somebody full of energy and ferocity.
Amen.
Where I came from, people were like, you learn to fight by the time you're 5.
Yeah.
There was no simpletons around.
That's true.
And it made me fall in love with graffiti. Graffiti introduced me to the other 3 elements of hip hop, which is the MC, the DJ, and the graffiti, and Crazy Legs and his people to dance. And then the Zulu Nation came and the Nation of Islam, and they made us be aware of the 5th element: wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and unity. So it was those forces that tapped into the revolutionary spirit, the spirit of the warrior, the spirit of we will survive. Remember the sister did the song, she said, I will survive.
I will survive.
And that became a hit instantly because it hit everybody in their memory.
Yeah.
And they remember their mothers, their grandmothers, their great-grandmothers, everybody that's in their struggle, saying, I'm going to survive. And you say, how the hell do you survive? You ain't got no money. You ain't got a house. I got soul.
Amen.
And James Brown came out, and all of those things were happening at once.
At once. So you got a piece. This is our opening. I wanted you to hear the spirit before I introduce the man. This is the legendary Ernie Paniccioli, and he's the first ever hip-hop photographer to capture the artist and hip-hop in its early stages and covered Word Up magazine. The first pages of Word Up magazine was Ernie Paniccioli's work. So, Ernie, since, you transitioned, from shooting graffiti to then just shooting the entire culture, so tell us about that journey and who you've met along the way.
Well, more important than the rappers, I met the spiritual people. I met Malcolm X's lawyer. I met Malcolm X's family. I met people from the Nation of Islam who were teaching martial arts to women. I was around people who were teaching nutrition, which back in the 60s and 70s, what is nutrition? We were eating hot dogs. We didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And I started meeting all these people, and I saw hip-hop as an undercurrent and as a linkage. And one of the things that you learn in revolutionary thought is that you need linkage. It's not about money. It's not about owning this or owning that. It's about owning yourself. And if you're a man, be a man. If you're a woman, be a woman. And I've I was around women to smack you right in the mouth if you look at them wrong and say something. So, this was the core. And I thought wrongly that hip hop would alter the course of our existence. It did to a degree, but it wasn't revolutionary enough. And I could give you 50 examples of that where money and certain people came in with money and they diluted. And if you drink coffee, the darker the coffee, the better it tastes, and so on and so forth. So when you dilute something, I became an icon, not just in hip hop, but in the Native American community here and in Canada. When I went to Canada, there were 300 people who meet me at the airport. I said, how could this be? Who are these people? I thought there was a rock star or somebody. And I went up to the cops and said, what's going on? They said, they're here to see you. I said, don't joke with me. And they did. And I was able to teach in Canada. I was able to teach in here. I was able to bring what I learned from Brooklyn to a universal audience. And it wasn't about power, control, or weapons, or conflict. It was about organizing spiritually, physically, mentally, and creating these things, which, as you can see, a brother got choked last week on the subway and killed for dancing like Michael Jackson. We are far from liberated. We are far from liberation. But at the moment, the second that we say enough, that one word, enough, everything stops. The whole paradigm shifts and things stop. Because the fear resonates through their bodies and through their hearts and through their minds. And they say, okay, they have had enough. But until we say enough, organically, ain't nothing going to change. People say, well, how come we prayed and we did this and we got people elected to Congress? I got the receipts.
Yeah.
I know, and I have the receipts, and I know who's pimping and who's fighting. We need to change. Economically, America doesn't understand what's happened economically. When you can't afford eggs, when you can't afford bread, when you can't afford, when they run out of baby food, how the hell are you going to run out of baby food? I travel in humility because in the Native community and in our indigenous and original communities, we were worth what we gave to our communities, how we raised our women, how we raised our children, how we organized our men. That's what we're not. I got a Lamborghini. The hell is a Lamborghini? After a couple of days, it runs out of gas. If you ain't got access to gasoline, what the hell good is a Lamborghini? Oh, I got a Prada. I got this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Your average young man today is judged and measured by a basketball player or a rapper. What they see on TV and what they see them driving.
Yeah.
So now your average man who might work at FedEx or the post office has to live up to that standard because that's what the society wants.
I've seen women say, I ain't going out with a guy who drives a FedEx truck. Right? Sister, you may be hungry soon. You may be hungry soon, and you may change your opinion of that FedEx driver. Okay? I think to a degree, some of us have failed as parents because we refuse to teach two basic things that you learn in the church. Number one, God don't like ugly. That's number one. God don't like ugly. And the most important thing, and after you learn that, you don't really need to learn a whole bunch more. Whatever goes around,
comes around.
Those are two laws that you can't violate. I don't care who you are. Oh, I got a Lamborghini? Yeah, well, I don't know if you've been following the news, but in the last year, they have had floods, 3 feet high and rising, all through the South, all through the West. And they don't know why. In California, they were crying, we got no water, we got no water. And in California, they've had floods. And now they got greenery that they don't know what to do with because they forgot how to farm. So all the stuff is growing and they don't know how to, they don't understand farming. And here's some little old lady somewhere who's been farming her whole life and she's giggling. She knows what to do. And I'm going to tell you a crazy idea. You see all these people coming in from all these countries. New York is being saturated with people from this country. But they're people. They're not immigrants. They're people with babies. They're hungry. And the reason they're coming here is because of America. America is doing all this cocaine and all this drugs and all this stuff. Listen carefully. They're making the cartels 100 or 1,000 times richer than the government. So the government, here you have an army and a police force, and they're making maybe $200 a week. You work for the cartel, you make $2,000 a week. The cartel calls up the mayor, calls up the police department, because Americans are putting that stuff up their nose. I'll tell you something else that you don't know. The alcohol companies. I don't drink. And not because I'm holy. But every dime and nickel that you put into the alcohol companies goes towards the most aggressive, least progressive, anti-woman, anti-God, anti-black, anti-brown, anti-worker corporations that hate us and would just as soon see us dead. So I don't buy the alcohol. Oh, well, you got to get your little taste. Guess what happens to your liver? Guess what happens to your brain? I'm 76. I can handle myself. I don't know if you know, but every now and then somebody made a mistake and mistook me for somebody else.
They do it all the time.
And they said, well, he got a gun. I said, well, I don't.
Yeah.
He said, well, be careful. He got a gun. I don't need a gun. And then it comes up and all of a sudden, 3 days later, he wakes up. What happened? And he's handcuffed because he got caught with that gun. Unconscious with it in his hand. How many nights that happened to me? See, they didn't tell you that word up. They didn't tell you about how I got the pictures or how I got access.
It gets wild, out there at these shows and, backstage. They have some crazy stories. Yeah.
Plus, Marcus and John know years ago there was no such thing in this area as real gangs. Now, if I wear red or too much blue, or I'm in the wrong city or the wrong place or certain neighborhoods, the gangs. And guess who indirectly owns the gangs? The cartel. Ernie, why are you talking about that? I got to live on this planet. Last time I checked, I didn't get a pass. But guess what? All of those gang members got mamas and sisters and daughters. And even though most of the men, or a lot of the men, have advocated in not doing their job and training their kids why they shouldn't be in a gang, they're getting in the gang. And the police is not the answer. The police is wonderful at giving out tickets and interfering with things that we know to be life. But we need to do it, and we need to organize. And the last thing that we need is to allow this next presidential election to go off the rails. I don't know if you all saw that the other night. I did. And I was like, whoa. We're always coming up a man or a woman who was respected for their character, for their presence, for their strength, for their emotional stability. You're running a planet because you're running a country that's one of the strongest in the world, that God gave you permission. But, like Gil Scott-Heron said better than I could, you can never get justice on stolen land.
Amen to that. So, now, we go back to, just a little piece of history. I remember first time that, to me, hip hop resonated as it was going in a different direction. I saw them criticizing the art, graffiti. And, I knew, of course we knew what graffiti was. I did it, I painted, my mom sitting right here. I did a piece. I saw it on TV. Mayor Koch was trying to say, this is garbage, the face of the planet, and he put it on TV and made it more famous by doing so.
Man, can I tell you about Mayor Koch and graffiti? This is the most craziest story. I had already taken thousands of pictures of graffiti through the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, everywhere, Staten Island. And I was working at NBC as a photographer.
Okay.
I worked for Sue Simmons, Live at 5.
Wow, I remember Susan.
I'm in love with her. She was the nicest, coolest person I ever worked with. Anyway, one of the people left NBC and went to work for the mayor and told him that they needed me to be there to photograph that, So they offered me twice as much money as NBC, half as many hours. I was like, okay, so I went to NBC, I got a nice paycheck, I'm working, and then I end up working directly for Koch. One day, Koch is being interviewed and somebody asked him what he thinks of graffiti, and he said, off the cuff, he said they should be castrated. That brings in a whole bunch of things about race and castrating black, So
right.
I'm sitting there, and I interrupted.
You interrupted?
I said, are you serious? And he looked at me, he said, MF? He said, do you think I'm serious? I said, I have no way of knowing. And right then and there, he started with me.
Okay.
And we would argue all the time, but I understood that he was New York.
Right.
And one of the things that people overlook about graffiti is that if you're a working person, you're trying to get from point A to point B, and the windows are all graffitied up, you're gonna miss your stop, and you may lose your job. So there was a lot to it. Also, we had certain people who did books on graffiti and movies on graffiti that made it look beautiful. A lot of it, I'd say 80% was garbage. It was, terrible.
There were some bad ones.
And they didn't talk about that. So there was some remarkable, and I have over 500,000 images, but there was some horrible stuff. And if you owned a little house and somebody painted over your house, you wasn't happy. So there's two sides to that coin. And Koch was one of the most complicated men I had ever worked for or ever met. He was a New Yorker to the bone, and a lot of people don't know that Mayor Koch started by being a civil rights attorney and risking his life down there with Dr. King and all them, can we all just get along, folks? And he was a complicated guy. He was also gay, and in a time where you had to hide that, and his lover, I came to find out, was a black man, and even though people thought he was racist, it was complicated, man. So when you on the inside, you got a different view from the people that are on the outside. Here is being paid the rights of, man, I saw the uncensored, unfiltered, but I'm going to tell you something. I would rather clean subways than to be a politician. Because there's no such thing as a free politician. They owe somebody. And one of the most highly praised politicians I almost got in a fist fight with, and Russell Simmons had to get between us because he tried to pass a bill. It was actually bill number 666, believe it or not, where he tried, and I'm not going to mention his name because he's an elder, Mr. Rangel. He tried to pass a bill that drafted teenagers to go to war when Bush was president and the Iraq War was going on. He wanted everybody. He said that if white boys and white girls go, then they'll stop the war. But in the meantime, as a Vietnam veteran, I saw what the draft did to our people. And I saw what the draft did to our communities. And I saw what it did to our children growing up without fathers or fathers that, you know, have come back half crazy from seeing the horrors of war, being turned on, shell-shocked, or turned on to that Vietnamese heroin, which is almost pure. So, I'd rather sell pizza or wash cars or clean toilets than be a politician. And I don't care who you name. It's very, 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 very rare. It's like, you know, now.
Well, we just did a fashion show in New York. Our style for April Walker, and Mayor Adams came together with Ralph McDaniels, and they did the HipHop's 50th anniversary.
I was there.
I know, and you know, it's good to see you in the audience, and you know, everybody came up to you.
They gave me love.
You.
I was surprised,
they
man.
They loved you, man. They loved you.
You know, Fubu and Carl Kanai, and those are my people, man. They made something out of nothing. Think about that.
Yeah, little hats with string on it.
Yeah, before them, it was like we would answer the phone or you know, deliver the mail.
Yeah.
And yeah.
He used to drive the little dollar bus around Queens.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
See.
You know, everybody comes from somewhere.
And April is killing it. You know, we have so much. Anybody say I'm lying? We got so much talent amongst us. It's crazy. Yeah. Am I lying? We got so much talent. It's frightening.
And it's growing.
Yeah.
It's getting bigger. You know we're in the Olympics, right?
No, I did not.
B-boy, breakdancing is the Olympics now. Yeah.
If you go to Europe or Canada, you're going to find that b-boying is almost like a sacrament. It's a respected art form.
Yes.
America's always been kind of wonky with art. You know,
they make everything a trend. It's very trendy.
Yeah. But you take people like Fable and Crazy Legs, and there was a whole Lady Pink. There was a whole the graffiti artists and graffiti women. Women were underrepresented. I'm fixing to do a book to correct that.
Good.
To correct that. And I hate to be dirty, but the entire book, there ain't gonna be one man in the book. Not even a little picture of me. It's gonna be all women. All right, I'm working on that now. As soon as I get this
you
thing out
got some amazing women in this book.
Yeah, I know I got some amazing women.
Yeah.
Lauren Hill, look at her as a queen. See? So you can say what you want about me, but you can't play with my camera, okay? The X-Clan.
Skills on point.
Yeah. Even Johnny Depp and Little Kim. Boy George,
Elton John.
the whole Wu-Tang.
Everybody in there.
Very few people got all 10 members of the Wu. All right? How about the Queen here? Before she became a tough guy on TV. What's that? Aaliyah.
Mary.
Y'all really need to check this dude out.
Oh yeah.
Trust me, Yasin Bey.
Yasin Bey.
Most definitely. You really need to check his music.
Yeah.
There's a song where he talks about hip hop. Check this out. I listen. Because this is a brother that don't just run duck and truck and, you know. In the song, he's talking about hip hop. And he says, there's a line. He says, hip hop will amaze you. Say whatever you say do. Do whatever you say do. But black, it can't save you. So I was like, damn. Hip hop will amaze you. Do whatever you say do. But black, it can't save you. Because people think that hip hop is some type of medicine or some medicinal form rather than a reflection of our talent, our energy, our poetry, our sensuality, or sexuality, or intellect. Think about that. Hip hop will amaze you. Do whatever you say do, but black it can't save you. And that's just this little tiny fraction of a song. And then the more I listened to him, and he started just 2 years ago, he started working with Native American artists in Canada.
With Yasin Bey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you won't believe what he did.
Tell me about it.
You got look it up. Look up Yasin Bey and the hallucination. Because we have different nations. We call that the hallucination. Yeah, but that's just one of the brothers. And Mary, come on. I don't know one woman in America that doesn't love Mary.
She represents the struggle.
Mary, man, I found out a story about Mary. The Zulu Nation went up to where she lived in the projects, and they did a DJ set, and when they were leaving, the gang up there robbed all their DJ equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So the Zulu Nation's the Bronx. So they went back up 2 weekends later, they got all their stuff back, and they corrected that thing, and Mary was there, she was a witness. And I don't know, have any of you seen this movie she's in, Power Book? Where, okay, she's a drug dealer, but she's also a mother, and she's also a woman, and she's also a black woman. And she got to play all these parts at once. And there was a fool that stepped to her, that I guess was her ex-lover or something, talked that. She handled it. I was like, but the thing is, Mary is not stretching too much. That's where she lived, that's what she saw. It's not something like a fantasy. And she, you know, and I turn on the TV and I see certain people getting all this praise, and I'm like, and I don't see Mary getting that. That's why I'm doing this new book. We're gonna correct
Give the flowers to the women in the industry. Left Eye, TLC.
Okay. And Biggie and Tupac.
Biggie and Pac, of course.
And this is all my work. Just so that you know, I've been working as Aaliyah,
God rest.
Roxanne, Shantae, Rakim, Missy.
Wow.
Missy's pretty amazing. She just got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Wow. MC Light.
Light. Oh man.
Moni.
Salt and Pepper and Kim.
Queen Bee.
Sweet Tea.
Sweet Tea, Lord have mercy.
And the real Roxanne.
Yep.
Erica bothers me.
Why does Erica bother you?
Erica bothers me because like Most Def or Yasin Bey, she ain't played it. There's the video. How many of you seen a video called Window Seat?
Window Seat. I haven't seen that.
Okay.
Tell me about
1963, November 22nd, 1963, President Kennedy is going through Dallas, Texas. They kill him in his limousine. Okay, that spot becomes a shrine where people from 1963 to now have gone. So Erica goes there, parks her car, and is walking through there. And she's building up and she's talking, and as she's walking, she's taking off her clothes and she gets butt naked.
I remember that.
In front of everybody, all the tourists, everything. This was not a setup. And she's butt naked. And just when she gets to that point where Kennedy was killed, they shoot her. And she begins to say how our dreams are taken from us and stolen. The whole world, oh, she was naked, a black woman naked. You know, everybody's all crying and like they ain't never seen a black, you know. And I was like, but they focus on the wrong thing, which she knew, and she did deliberately to make us see that we're not looking, you know, our eyes not on the ball. Watch that, it's called Window Seat. I showed it to somebody yesterday.
Oh yeah, She went. That video is famous.
And there's a part where she says there's an interview where she says, "I'm an artist. I'm real touchy about my stuff."
Yep.
You know,
Say it's
she's
about
like,
my.
yeah, but she's an artist. Most Def is an artist. A lot of these cats are rappers, and the females, you know, rappers. I'm an artist. I'm also a martial artist. I'm also disciplined. I'm also a teacher. I'm also a revolutionary. I'm also a human being in a world that's forgetting how to be a human being. We gotta relearn. I was in Canada. Let me share something with you, and then I'm gonna shut up. I was in Canada 3 weeks ago. They invited me up to this museum, which is like the Museum of Modern Art, and they asked me to speak to kids. 5 schools full of kids. So I go up there. I love me Toronto. And the night before, I get a message from a native sister that changed my whole mindset, because I was going to go up there and play with them and show them pictures, and you know, just the night before, I get a message from the sister that her 12-year-old daughter was arrested for shooting up a liquor store and shooting the owner in a robbery. 12 years old, good girl, raised right, everything, 12 years old. She said, I need you, Brother Ernie, to talk to them, to reach them, touch them, do something. I said, sister, I will pray on them. I got up there, and they had a couple people speak before me, just introduction. And the kids, you know, they're looking at their phone, they're playing, they're lollygagging. I get up, I said, listen, I'm here on a mission. I got a message. And if I see you playing with your phone or talking, I'm gonna come down and slap the shit out you. The people that invited me up there wish they had not. The kids in the room, the teachers, everybody. But guess what? Nobody talked. And I went deep into my heart. And I explained to them what they are capable of being, the greatness, the wonder, the magic, the power. And you're going to give it up because you got, you know, likes on Instagram or what, you know. And I let them wave for the first time. And a lot of these kids, no one ever told them how wonderful you are. What a miracle it is. You know, you all take phones for granted. I want to call a guy in Japan and Canada at the same time I do it. It's free.
Technology. It's a tool.
You can't overlook the blessing. I take a camera and I take a picture of him. 75 years from now, that picture's still there. How do I stop time where I can put it into a little, how do I never forget the miracles?
Let me ask you a question.
Wait, when the talk was over, I knew that they were going to call immigration, have me taken out the country, not pay me, kick me in, you know, and not even give me a ride. Just get out of here, you know. Here's your hat, what you heard. The sisters that run that thing came up and embraced me and thanked me. And the kids all stood up and applauded because I had touched their hearts. And that's in Toronto. And I'm not some little kid. I'm not some teenager. I'm not some Instagram, what do they call it? An Instagram influencer. That happened in Toronto 2-3 weeks ago. So we can, if we reach into ourselves, we all have that memory. We all know who we are. We forget. We forget for a lot of reasons. Money, clothes, cars, fame. We are amazing. And the minute we forget we're amazing, our relationships break up.
Your relationships today or
Yeah.
something else?
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry.
let's take a walk down memory lane. You're shooting, right? You're shooting artists.
Yeah. Bobby Brown.
Now, did you know, that it was going towards the magazines, or were you doing it for your own purposes?
I was doing it to pay rent.
Yeah.
And I did not at that time think that I was the best or the greatest. I didn't have that Muhammad Ali thing where I'm the greatest. Yo, just sit your head behind down and shut up. I couldn't do that. But I knew I had 20 years of painting and drawing.
Mm-hmm.
It might take me 6 months to do a painting of it, 3 months, 1 month. And now in a 60th of a second, I could capture your spirit because I had trained. Plus, my people understand the eyes. If you look at all my work, the eyes.
The eyes, yeah.
How the hell you get that picture? I was standing right next to you. The eyes, baby.
Focus
The
on
eyes communicate.
That's the secret, yeah.
I remember a long time ago when I liked ladies.
You
I
still
was
like
single.
ladies.
I was single. And, I didn't have to go up and run the whole game.
Yeah.
And tell them the history of my life. I'd be like, hey, baby.
The eyes.
Eyes. And the guys, what the hell you got, man? You ain't the best looking, you ain't the biggest, you ain't. It's called warmth. Fool. So I shouldn't say too much, but either you talk or you're silent. And I loved what I did. I loved the fact that somehow through some miracle, I was able to capture somebody's essence.
Mm.
But the thing is, as a photographer, and this is a secret I'm going to share with you, 1 second before, 1 second after is gone.
It's true.
You got to find, it's just like we're talking to a woman. There's a moment. If you blow, you're out.
Blew it.
There's a moment.
That's true.
If you play with your phone or reaching for that hamburger, there's a moment. And I read something, I don't know, you women have to tell me because I don't know, I'm not a woman. They say that a woman knows if she digs a guy within like 30 or 60 seconds. Is that true?
It's true.
It is?
And then we say something to mess it up.
Yeah.
We just keep our mouth shut.
You're already there. She gave you the keys. Here.
Mm-hmm. As soon as we start talking about how much money we got, we start talking about our cars and this and the third. She stopped thinking about you, started thinking about, well, let me hold out until I get the keys to his car. Then we'll go further.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
see, I never had that problem because I didn't have a car. I didn't have that money. So, you would have to like me for, what
Organically.
what's that soul song? Like me for what I am, or dig me for who I am, or love me for who I am.
Take me who I am.
Take me for who I am.
Yeah.
I didn't have all them complications. One night, this is just an aside. One night, I got paid. This is crazy. I shouldn't even tell you this. One night I got paid to be at a party. Just paid to be at a party.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to take no picture, nothing. And as I was going into the hotel on 7th Avenue, Isaac Hayes walks up.
Wow.
And I said, hey, Isaac, what's up? He said, it's cool. I said, what are you doing? He said, they're paying me to be here. I said, me too. So we sat there and we talked for an hour, man. And we're getting paid to talk to Isaac Hayes. So he's telling me, how he tried to put all those messages in his song about men and women and loving women, and songs like By the Time I Get to Phoenix. And he understood. But what he didn't know, I was living in the South, and every person's house you go into had this giant poster of him, almost naked with golden chains and shiny bald head.
I remember the posters. Yep.
And he said, no, I kind of knew.
It's funny. So, who's the most memorable artist you've shot?
That's a very difficult question because there were different people for different things. One night, I got really deep with Yasin Bey, Most Def, and I found out a whole bunch of really incredible things about him. Richie Havens, a folk singer. The first time I met Gil Scott Heron, I went up to shake his hand. He pushed my hand aside and gave me a hug, and I wanted to scream because Gil Scott Heron and Nina Simone and Isaac Hayes had put so much information into their songs. So much information. It was like trying to decode the pyramids. It was just so much information. Gil Scott Heron had a profound effect on me. There's a Native American artist. If you listen to it, it will change your life. His name is John Trudell, Trudell. And that brother just, we shared so much together that he literally changed my life. And how many of you saw the movie Belly?
I know so.
Belly.
Yeah,
with Hype Williams movie with DMX and Nas.
There's a scene where DMX is with Rankin Louis, who's a reggae artist, and he wants to get put on. And DMX talks out his mouth and says, unless you're scared. And Louis put the whole movie into one little thing. He told me, don't come to me with that scared stuff. I ain't scared of nothing. I ain't scared of dying. And he broke it all down. But there was a reason that I put that in there, and that was for us not to be afraid. You're born, you live, you die.
That's it.
Ain't nobody got out of here. You born with a death sentence. Ain't nobody getting out of here. 6 months, 90 years. It's what you do between the opening of the door and the closing of the door. And your worrying is not going to take that away. When I was hungry and didn't have money, I didn't worry about it. Because worry would just add another burden to me. I was trying to find solutions. And we need to find solutions on how to get from point A to point B. We need to remember the things that our grandmothers and grandfathers and elders and ministers and so on tried to instill in us. Martial arts. I had martial artists, man, who he would never teach me anything about fighting. He came up to me, first day in class. He hands me a glass of water. I said, thank you. And he looked at me. He didn't say nothing. Everybody's looking at me. So here I am with a glass of water in front of all these people. All these eyes are on me. I'm like, so in your head, what do I do with a glass of water? Pour it on myself, bless myself, do a baptism. What do I do?
Drink.
Well, see, it's not that easy. When you would a 9th degree martial artist who can stop you by tapping you, it's not that easy. But it was the fact that I stopped that allowed me to get into that organization, that dojo. Because the fact that I stopped and questioned myself, without words, because in martial arts ain't a lot of words. So I learned, I thought, I prayed, and I said, okay. And you're gonna learn this after 10 years of martial arts, is that water comes from somewhere. And we don't think about it when we drink it. That woman in your life comes from somewhere. We don't think about it when, and everything has an essence. And it's our link to that essence. And searching for that essence, whether you find it or not. And with that water comes from somewhere. And if you just drink it, you don't think about it. If you drink it slowly, and if you're in the desert, I was in the deserts of Cuba. Water is special. but all these things were in my head at the same time. So you got to learn who the person is and what their part in your life is and what your part in their life is and what the part of your union with that person creates on a broader scale.
It's a bigger picture. That's most important.
So, water.
Bruce Lee said, "Be like water."
Yeah.
What was the most difficult point? And I think we made it talk. We talked about one, but I'll let you go to the one that you want to choose. But what's the most difficult artist that you worked with?
I'd rather not say, because that person's career is, like Biggie said, was short on the top like leprechauns. I'll tell you privately. And there's also somebody who made the mistake of trying to do a book with me and using all my energy and everything. Then the book came out and they didn't want to pay me. I made a phone call and their whole life changed and I got paid. And the person talked out their mouth, not realizing who I was. So I got paid, but more importantly, I lost respect for that person. Not about money. I've had money before, lost money before, made money. Money's paper, man. It was a lack of respect from a brother to a brother.
And who is all right, so, speaking of respect, you had experience with Professor Griff. And,
Oh, wow.
And something that we didn't know about, Professor Griff that you told
Wow.
us being...
Professor Griff
Mm-hmm.
was 1/3 or 1/4 of the Public Enemy lineup. It was Terminator X, it was the DJ, Flavor Flav, Chuck D, and Professor Griff. And I did 4 albums for them, and the New York Times said that I was their private personal photographer. And if you listen to a lot of the things that Chuck D and Public Enemy tried to share with us, Elvis was a hero the most, but he never, you got to fight the power. And Professor Griff, one day, we're backstage in a room like this, and there's a lot of activity, and Griff is looking at me, and Griff is a very militant brother. He's deep into the Nation of Islam and into black history and black awareness, and he's not a joke. And he's looking at me, and he keeps looking at me, and I'm like, I'm a sensitive cat. I can tell when something is not aligned. So he walks past me and I said, "Brother, you got a problem with me?" And this is a tough, no-nonsense, seldom talks guy. He said, "No, I don't." I said, "Why you give me that cold stare? I'm from Brooklyn, I know that." He says, "No, you don't." I said, "Why?" He said, "What you don't know is that I'm Native American. We're Blackfoot from South Carolina." He said, "I'm looking at you and I'm seeing my family." So here I am on some warrior stuff, and he's on some spiritual stuff. And he said, "May I hug you?" And this is the most anti-shaky guy you ever gonna meet. And the brother, I said, "Sure." And we hugged, and everybody in the room was like, "What just happened?"
He's head of security.
He's the head of the security.
Mm-hmm.
He's the head of the S1W, security for his work. And here's these two men hugging. And nobody asked, and nobody had the nerve to ask.
Two dangerous men.
Yeah. And they just were like, "Yo." Nobody said nothing.
Deep.
Yeah. And I have great love for that brother.
Great, man. Now, you're able to shoot Tupac, and you had some conversations with Pop.
Yeah. They have a show about Tupac's mother, Dear Mama. And it talks a whole bunch about the Panthers, Black consciousness. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I haven't been able to have the time to watch it, but the little bit I watched took us into a insight that I don't think has been done yet.
So when you were able to shoot him, like, you know, how was the experience with shooting?
It was
Tupac?
good. He was the one thing people don't give him enough credit for, even though he made a comedy with Tim Roth, where they played junkies. How many of you see that movie? I forget the name of it. Gridlock or something. I don't know.
Gridlock, yeah.
But he could have been a great actor.
Yeah.
And he had a great sense of humor.
He's a great actor.
Yeah, he's a great actor. And people forget his acting talent and his humor. People think of him as some serious guy, but he was always like
Talented guy. You know, he's a humble guy because you see that he was backstage cleaning up. At one point.
Oh, you don't even know all the stories about Tupac. A couple of weeks ago, a man called me to come to his museum in Jersey City, and I went there, and he wanted to know what to do with these pictures of Tupac. I said, well, who took them? He said, I did. They went to high school together. Him, Tupac, and Jada, and he had all these pictures. So I steered him in the right direction. But yeah, he had uncensored, unfiltered pictures of, you know, Tupac being Tupac, not being, you know, an actor or a singer or a rapper. And the pictures were very warm and very funny and very real. They're not out yet. I think they're going to be out soon. I linked them to a TV station, and they're about to do a documentary.
Okay, amazing. I'll plug the artist as well.
Yeah.
And then it was all a dream.
We worked for Word Up, and Biggie came out.
Magazine.
Biggie came out one day. I'm listening. I'm in the car. I'm listening to radio, and here's Biggie. He said, "It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine, Salt and Pepper up in the limousine, posters on the wall, and I almost fell out. And all of a sudden, I got like 50 phone calls, man. People screaming. So when I saw him, we were at some event with Puffy and him and Mace and a whole bunch of people, and I asked him point blank. I said, why didn't you put my name in there?" He said, "I dedicate this song to you, Juicy." I said, "Thank you. Why didn't you put my name in there, man? It would have really helped." And there's a word that starts with M and F. I forget the word. He called me a bunch of them, and he said, "Can't nobody rhyme your name, fool." But he had a wicked sense of humor. But I wish in retrospect that when he told me he was in danger, I listened. I thought it was just, you know, paranoia. You never take paranoia for granted. And yeah, he did. He said, "I used to read Word Up magazine, and I saw your stuff." He had my pictures on his wall, and he knew me through my pictures, because when they did the posters, they always put my name on. And Biggie knew. He said, "I couldn't pronounce your name, fool, but I knew your name." You know, he said, "I knew who you were. I couldn't pronounce your name. I still can't pronounce your name." I said, "Well, you know, if you're stupid and from Brooklyn, you can't pronounce my name." And you know, his boys jumped between us because he's trying to get over there and beat on me. You know, I almost fought with him like 20 times because they'd already, you know. And if anybody didn't know us, they'd think, you know,
right.
But it wasn't. It was, you know.
Yeah.
That's the Brooklyn BS.
Yeah.
We're on it.
Yeah.
You know, they said show love is the Brooklyn way.
Yeah.
But the other part of that Brooklyn BS, I'm on it, you know. Brooklyn BS, man. Yeah.
Amen. It's that roughhousing, you know.
Well,
people think it's
the love in Brooklyn is deeper than most places, but the violence is also more edgy. And we're very primitive still in Brooklyn because you know, it's the jungle, man.
And it's new. Well, Ernie,
Good. That's
thank
it.
you,
I'm out of
thank
here.
you so much. God bless you, my brother. Thank you for your energy, your spirituality. Everything.
Thanks for the love, man.
Love you, brother.
You and your dad didn't have to do that. I'm just some old guy sitting there collecting Social Security, eating oatmeal, you know.
I love my oatmeal. I got 2 cases right here in my bag. But
I'm just some old guy, man.
you know, check out the books. You know, look up Ernie Paniccioli. You can go to his website. I'll show it in the credits as well. I mean, this is real classic hip hop.
This is pictures you ain't seen and you ain't gonna see unless you got $1,000 to buy one of these books.
Amen.
Look, who got Michael Jordan and Shaq in their work? Who got Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson? Who got the whole Wu? Come on.
The whole Wu-Tang.
The whole Wu-Tang.
So listen.
Kid and Play, LL Cool J. I got LL Cool J without his clothes on in this book. Yeah.
If you don't know, now you know.
If you don't know, now you know.
This is the #1 hip hop photographer, first ever, Ernie Paniccioli.
There's
Books.
Tupac again laughing.
Books are available on his website. You look up Ernie Paniccioli, and you know, get your book.
My book is called Hip Hop at the End of the World.
Hip Hop at the End of the World.
You already forgot it before the time I finished saying it. Hip Hop at the End of the World.
And he has everybody.
Yeah, there's a young Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle and Light and who's this sister?
What are you talking about, Jada Pinkett? Amen. So,
Who's this sister? I forgot her name.
that's who? Queen Latifah?
Some Egyptian name or something.
Hey, Queen Latifah.
And who?
Yeah,
40 cents?
50 Cent.
40 cents. And DMX.